I'm McKinney Smith. After going through a divorce, my sister passing away, experiencing narcissistic abuse, and some significant health scares, I realized through sharing my story that I wasn't alone in my suffering. Suffering, subjective distress generated by the experience of being out of balance. In a deep dive to holistically heal mind, body, and soul is where I discovered peace, clarity, and connection. It is impossible to be truly wise without some real life hardship, and we cannot develop post-traumatic wisdom without making it through, and most importantly, through it together. Social connection builds resilience, and resilience helps create post-traumatic wisdom, and that wisdom leads to hope. Hope for you and others witnessing and participating in your healing, and hope for your community. A healthy community is a healing community, and a healing community is full of hope because it has seen its own people weather, survive, and thrive. Before we get into today's conversation, I have something powerful for you. My fifth book, Renewing Your Mind, is a guide to transforming chaos into clarity using proven mindset strategies. This book was co-written by my business partner and I, Susanna Mihailovich. And if you are ready to shift your perspective, grab your copy on Amazon or at mckinneysmith.com. Today's guest is Kim Fitzpatrick. She's an executive business, life, and leadership coach dedicated to unlocking the full potential in those she works with. A dynamic and heart-centered strategist, she specializes in executive mentorship, mindset mastery, and holistic life expansion. As the CEO and founder of Legacy by Kim, she has co-founded and scaled multiple seven-figure businesses across leadership coaching, retail, and direct sales, helping countless women build thriving enterprises. She's the creator of Awaken Her Clarity Mastermind, the Executive Council, and other transformative programs. Her Be Her Now journal serves as the foundation of her successful morning and life routine. Kim is also the co-host of the Fitz Life Unfiltered podcast and an international speaker, having inspired audiences worldwide. Her mission? To empower individuals to lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose, creating lasting impact in business and life. So please welcome to the show, Kim Fitzpatrick.
Hello. Thank you so much, McKinney. It has been, we just were chatting about this 4 years. Been on your show, and it is so good to see you. I think you're aging in reverse.
Yeah, I have Benjamin Button syndrome.
I have to be honest. I'm like, I think you're like in love, aging in reverse. It's like, I love this.
Yeah, the high frequency. It's like reversing the aging.
It is. It totally does that.
Thank you. Thank you. It is so good to see you. It is so good to have you back on the podcast. Before we started recording, we were talking about so much has changed since. And I've been doing this podcast for 6+ years, and you've been on the show twice. There are very few people that I have on multiple times, but I love you dearly. So I am honored that you said yes to coming back. It's been a minute. We had you on in July and August of 2020.
Yeah.
And back then, we were talking about, unlocking the trauma of procrastination. You were giving tools. You were talking about your journey, your story. But obviously, we've stayed connected. I have watched you evolve. I am so freaking proud of you. I just want to hug you and squeeze you. Like life has been lifing, but at the same time, like the evolution, the self-awareness, the growth, I am just loving it all. And I want to get into it all, but I'll let you start wherever you feel you want to start.
I love the term life has been lifing. Yes, to that. Life has been lifing. I mean, where do I even begin? We've moved, McKinney. I've moved out of one business that was a decade long that closed up, and I've actually like completely transitioned out of that into my own coaching business and practice. And, that feels really, really good and in full alignment. And, as I was thinking and it was so interesting when McKinney and I were chatting before the show started is, we were talking about the healing journey. And I said, it's so interesting to me because that doesn't even resonate with me anymore. And it doesn't mean that the traumas didn't happen or the hardships didn't happen or the things that we've dealt with didn't happen, but the transference that's happening and the transcendence that's happened versus and I would say too, it's transferred out of my body. Like there's been a transference of energy where I've moved through things and, it's just been a wild ride and one that I'm proud of because I did think at one point that I might have been broken forever. And now I know is that I was never broken in the first place. Right? Never broke in the first place. So knowing that now, and for those of you that are listening that are like, gosh, that stung to think, what if I stay broken forever? I wonder if this could be some sort of an anchor, for you to realize like, hey, I'm not broken. I love the quote by Leonard Cohen. It says, ring the bell, you still can hear. Forget the perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Yes.
And it's like, we're not broken. We're just there's a crack.
Yes.
Crack in the foundation. There's a crack in what happened for you. And the light comes through that. And that's really where I've been. I think I'm like chasing my light, McKinney. And more importantly, I've been allowing the light in.
That's powerful. When you said that quote, it made me think of, and there are artists that like specialize in doing this where they take like cracked cutlery and cracked things, and in the spaces they use like gold and they make it into this beautiful art for us to admire. So that's what I was thinking of when you talked about that quote. But also, like, I want the listeners to understand the transition because I feel like with social media, we may see the highlights of someone's life and feel like that's not attainable for us. Or we may admire what someone else is doing and feel like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have the strength to do that, or I don't have the courage to do that, or any of those things. And then listening to their actual story, realizing these are human beings that have overcome adversity. These are people that have done the work. These are people who are aware, who have intentionally transformed their lives. And instead of living in victimhood, are now not only victors in their own life, but utilizing their potential, utilizing their skills and their strength to help other people to thrive. So, previous episode, we talked about your struggle with unworthiness, the self-doubt. We talked about your story about losing your mom to cancer. We talked about your husband's health struggles. We talked about all of those things. So now hearing the transition of even your thought process of the past belief that you thought you were always going to be broken to where you are presently. I want the listeners to understand that it is attainable for them too. If it is possible for you, it is possible for them as well, but it requires doing the work.
Amen. And, I think that the work it's so interesting, McKinney, because the work is going to be so different for every person. And the work for me required, number one, we moved just recently, like 4 or 5 months ago. And the one thing I realized is that now, even if you move a house or you get a new car or you get a new job, you are the reason why all those things will work. You can't get a new house to escape the old thing that happened or where you were. You can't get a new job thinking that those issues will not follow you if you did not heal them, work through them, or figure it all out. And I will share this too, McKinney, like I was a professional morning routine guru before Jamie's heart attack. Okay. I was like, nailed it. It's been 5 years and I'm still trying to find my rhythm. And I'm good. I got it. I got it on lockdown, but every day I have to remind myself of the promises that I'm keeping to myself and why I want to feel this way and why I do this. It's going to keep me in the elevation, keep me in the vibration, like you said, and it's these habits that used to be second nature to me that now require a little bit more effort. And I believe that when things start to feel really hard, that's the beginning of the journey. And that's been my greatest lesson is like, I think for a long time, it's, you get a case of the F-its, forget it. I'll just drink this away or I'll Netflix this away or I'll do these things. Yeah, you're gonna numb it. And that's what I realized the most is like, I just don't numb anymore. I don't want to numb anymore. I want to be fully present. And that was the transition of like, so how do you move yourself through this really hard spot where, if I'm really honest, McKinney, I believe that a lot of my success was because of my trauma. I was just going to outwork and work work 12, 15-hour days to what is that? That's also numbing. Yeah. And the biggest growth I've had is stopping doing that. Having to sit with myself and having to journal and invest in different things, but most importantly, investing in myself. Yeah. And, really seeing and auditing, hey, this no longer matches where I'm going. And this no longer matches where I've been. And, it's so interesting. In our last podcast, I know that I talked about my stepmom and, a lot of like animosity there and like growing up feeling unworthy. And, in 2022, I cut her off of my life.
Good for you.
And I just was really honest. And it was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have. It was so painful. But what it did was it actually stopped the cycle of the power that, someone had over me. And in fact, 5 months later, she actually apologized. And it's so interesting because for those of you that are listening that are like, if that person just apologizes, everything will feel better. And I want to tell you, it didn't actually even impact me at all. Her apology, I had to reconcile that with myself.
Right. Yeah, closure for yourself.
Yeah. I had to move forward. I had to say, hey, I didn't put myself in that story, but I do put myself in my next chapter. You're going to allow that story to keep being the author in my head, or I'm going to move on. And that was part of it. And it really affected our family big time for a really long time, but we are on the other side and there's power there. And it doesn't even bother me now. I'm like, yeah. I'm good. I'm
a trigger.
I wasn't the problem, but the way that I was creating the story in my head to be was like, gosh, it completely changed my life. Ironically, I was reading Colleen Hoover. Oh my gosh. It ends with us and it starts with us.
It ends with us. Yeah.
It ends with us. Yeah. So it was the ends with us when she leaves. That I read that book the night before. I'm like sobbing and I'm just like really thinking about it. And then I walked outside. We were on vacation. I walked outside and in that morning, that's when I got that text from my stepmom. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the whole book it was almost like this whole, like, it ends now. Like, it ends now. It ends now. And this ends. Yeah. And it ends with us. Ironically, the title, it ends with us. Like the pain ends at you. It ends or it stays with you.
Generational healing.
Yeah. And like healed my kids. It's healed myself. It's healed me. It's healed my siblings. It's healed our family because I just move forward. Doesn't mean the pain didn't happen. It doesn't mean the stuff didn't happen, but how you handle it is really the change. So I feel like those are the two biggest things, McKinney, like really changing my outlook of like how I want to be and how I want to show up and knowing what I need more of and knowing what I don't need any more of.
Yeah. I get it 1000%. Like there was so much that you said there that I want to unpack that we probably wouldn't even have enough time to get into, but I want to make sure that the listeners are taking notes because a couple of things that you spoke to, one is being able to give yourself closure. I think there are so many people waiting for someone else to give them closure. But what if that person never gives you that closure? So you're going to spend the rest of your life like waiting on someone else? Like, stop giving them that power. So you took your power back. And good on you where you made the decision to cut your stepmother off when you did, because I feel like for a lot of people when it comes to family, they excuse a lot of behaviors based on titles. They're afraid to address the behavior because that's your aunt, because that's your mom, because that's your stepmom, what have you. So good on you for doing that, because my therapist actually gave me permission to cut a family member off that I've been struggling with. So I get it. And then there's also where you talked about like it's you no longer allowing that person to trigger you, because when we're walking around, it's like walking around with a loaded gun with your finger on the trigger, right? And then you're
Yeah.
having explosive moments of emotions and all these things happening. So you now taking back your power and the control of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. You spoke to even moving. I love that for so many reasons. And I agree absolutely with what you said. And I also want to add in, like, I know that when I was going, or I guess when I had my aha moment that I realized I really needed to go deeper in my healing journey, I moved homes, I sold my car, I got rid of all my furniture. I wanted to start fresh, not because I was running from those things, but those things were attached to memories with a person that I no longer wanted to stay connected to. So, although I moved, if I wasn't doing the actual work during that move, if I wasn't going to therapy every week, if I wasn't doing all the personal development, nothing might have changed. But it helped eliminate all of the triggers. And then good on you for even when you received that text with the apology. It's like you have done the work and come to the place where you're like, okay, that's great that you've apologized. And I feel like sometimes some apologies can be performative unless they come with changed behavior. And I know that it can go either way. But good on you for being the bigger person and be like, yep, I'm good. I'm over it. Like
And,
I've
and
moved on.
it's so interesting what you just said, because nothing's really changed.
Mm-hmm.
This is important for
Mm-hmm.
anyone listening that's like, but I've changed. The
Mm-hmm.
attachment and the way that I respond to the still same behavior
Mm-hmm.
doesn't touch me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said was really important. An apology without changed behavior is performative.
Yeah.
That big check,
Yeah.
but it also is, I didn't need that. So
Yeah.
now I know that I'm good. Like, I got this. Like, let's
Yeah.
move forward. Right. So, then what I found is that even if it was maybe performative, or like, let's move on, or nothing really changed, I changed.
Yeah.
You change as a listener, right? You can change how you interpret or how you respond or how you engage with the situation. Right.
Yes.
So I feel
Absolutely.
like that's a good distinction
Yes.
for those listening, because you're right. Like, the only person's behavior you can change is your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even
I
that's
mean,
hard.
you know this, Makini, right? You do this for a living. Like, you help people literally change their behaviors. So it's like, it's really important to remember that. Like,
Yeah.
you're the only one in charge. And that was my biggest aha.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to come in and move my body for me.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to stop me from going to bed late.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to fuel me the way I need to be fueled so that I have energy to pursue the huge career I want.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. So and that can either be disempowering for some, because they're like, whoa, that feels like a really big responsibility. Or it can be like, I'm in training. I'm an athlete. I'm going to get in the ring,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to
Yeah.
get in the arena. What? I love Brene Brown. I think it was Brene Brown's quote or someone's quote about being in the arena. It's like, get in the arena. And part of being in the arena is like, how are you training yourself? How
Mm-hmm.
are you adapting to what's coming?
Mm-hmm.
All of that really matters.
I love how you also spoke to, and now my brain is like, the perimenopause brain is like, what? I forgot what I was going to say. Darn it. You talked about chasing the feeling of how you want to feel, the life that you want to to live.
Yeah.
I think there are so many people that are in a circumstance or looking at their lives and feeling powerless and not realizing how much power they actually have and how much change they can actually make in a short amount of time. And it's being intentional of what you want your life to look like. It's being intentional of what you want your life to feel like. So I think that was very, very important. I remember I said that once in like a story or a TikTok or something, and someone was like, what does that even mean? And it's like, for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been chasing what I want my life to feel like, what I want it to look like. I don't want it to be focused on the past hurts, the past traumas, all those things. It's like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel joy. I want to feel excitement. I want to feel peace. I want to feel all those things. So anytime I say yes to something, if it feels like it's going to make me feel how I don't want to feel, it's a no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you also spoke about understanding I guess the avoidance or the numbing things that we naturally do. Like we all have different ways of coping. We all have our trauma responses. And I'm halfway through learning this lesson right now myself, because even though I've been going to therapy every week for like almost 2 years now, I joined this group trauma therapy weekly to get deeper to the root of a lot of my stuff, so that I'm going to say better at overcoming these things. And it's almost like a 12-step program, but it's teaching us to figure out what our drug of choice is, what our
Mm,
numbing mechanism is for our trauma.
mm,
And for some people, that could be binge watching TV, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs. I've learned for myself, it's isolation and shopping.
mm.
So it's like once you learn what your drug of choice is and how to put a plan in place to have a different behavior and to do
Mm.
differently, right? It affects how we view things. It affects our healing journey. And it also does affect I'm going to say the generational healing, because if I even look at my daughters who are in their 20s and I look at their behaviors and it's like, oh, they do the isolating and shopping too. Okay. Like, how can we stop this
Yeah,
generational pattern of unhealthy behavior
yeah,
and actually address what the issue is so that we can heal and thrive?
yeah. I love that. It was interesting. I was listening to, what's his name? Russell. He's got the British accent. He's in all those movies. Is it Russell? Anyway, he wrote a book on this, and he said he was an addict, and very successful actor and well known. And he wrote a book on this, and he's like, it's interesting. He's like, I'm an addict. He goes, I'm a sex addict. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. Yet there are women and men walking around with multiple addictions that just aren't seen as bad as mine, but yet they're spending all their money. They're shopping, they're numbing, they're whatever it is, binge watching. There is. And I think it's really important what you just shared, because, I read the book Codependent No More
Mhm.
by Verity Didi. And that was a really good resource. I've actually read that 3 times. And we get, I believe that some of us, especially those that have gone through really hard things in their life and have had their lived experiences that are unlike other people's. And that is where I realized I was actually codependent on the pain.
Mm,
This is good.
mm. That's a big one. Say that again.
Yeah. I was codependent on the pain,
Mm,
because I was codependent on the pain. And when I learned that I was codependent on the pain, then I could realize what else I was codependent on. And those were
mhm,
relationships. Those were the numbing things. I was codependent on the pain because I could control feeling shitty.
mm.
Hmm. Well,
Wow.
if I feel pain and terrible and then I can be justified in my misery.
Mhm,
Say, how dare, look, you don't know how hard I had it. That is an easy victim life.
mhm.
But I'll tell you, it's the hard life. And
Absolutely.
that changed my life. I was like, I'm not a victim, and I'm not going to live as a victim anymore.
Mhm.
Business changed my income. It changed everything.
I love it.
You are a victim. We need to change. We need to talk.
I love it. I love it. See, the reason I wanted you to repeat that is because I know people that are addicted to the pain. I know people that live in the pain because of the attention that they get from it and all of the things. And that is their safe space. That is where they feel comfortable. And very few that I know are willing to admit it. So I wanted you to repeat that because I know that there is someone that is listening that needs to hear that. I'm reading The Myth of Normal by Gaber. Is it Gaber Mate? I can't pronounce his name properly. But he was talking about, because he studies like trauma and addiction and ADHD and all these things. And he was talking about a lot of people with addictions, what they're actually chasing is that dopamine hit.
Mhm.
Right. But if we look at why are they chasing that dopamine hit and we get to the root of it, we can, figure out what their trauma is, what their coping mechanisms are, and actually like breaking those things apart. But I think so many people are afraid of what they will learn about themselves, or they're afraid to unpack Pandora's box and, remember things about their past, or doing the work is hard. And like you said before, there are different ways that doing the work looks like for different people. I know it's been very uncomfortable for me. And in so many ways, it's forced me to have uncomfortable conversations with my children. It's forced me to be the most vulnerable I've ever been in my entire life in my relationship. It has forced me to have uncomfortable conversations or disconnect from family or people that I quote unquote love. It's forced me to look at friendships differently. It's forced me to even look at the business that I do differently and the clients that I'm willing to take on, because it's a no thank you for me if it's someone that's going to like drain all my energy and, cause me to go be depressed. It's also forced me to put stronger boundaries in place. And I'm a heavy empath. I love to help people. My friends are like, I'm one of the first people they come to when they need support, or if they want to recommend someone, that's going through something, I'm the one that gets a phone call. But now understanding, okay, I can't be all things for all people. And it's like I got in trouble from my therapist on my last trip because we met a woman in the lobby 2 o'clock in the morning, trigger warning. I couldn't walk away from seeing a woman sitting there crying in a foreign country. And she's surrounded by these men that look like security guards. And when I approached her to ask if she was okay, found out that the guy that she came there with beat the crap out of her. And I couldn't leave her there like that.
Mm.
And spending days stressing about her, helping her, going through all of that when it was supposed to be my vacation, my therapist is like, I know you meant well, but
Yeah.
right. So it's like learning all of these ways of being that are so different than what we've been used to or how we, typically operate. But I wanted to highlight those things that you said, because I feel like there are things that people that may go over someone's head if they're not listening clearly. Because I definitely believe like healed ears hear differently.
Mm.
And when we are not open, we're not open to receiving, we're not open to understanding, we stay stuck. We stay in our pain. We stay in the same place. We talked about before we started recording, like if we were in the same place we were 4 years from now or 4 years ago,
Yeah.
that would be a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I know people that are still in the same place that they were 4 years ago, but they're not willing to hear or to do the work. They're not willing to be self-aware. It's not just about, I want to say it's not just about ourselves. We affect every single person that we come into contact with. There's a huge domino effect and we don't even realize it. So I appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability. And if I haven't said this already, like the first time I had you on the podcast, that was like one of our top 10 episodes for years. So because of your honesty and your transparency. So I like appreciate it so much.
All the tea. Okay, that. We're going to be like, who is this calm, quiet human on this podcast? She's serene. She's serene. The opposite of me being like, because I was like in this fight or flight, phase in my life, Makini, where I was just boldly speaking my truth. And there were people that did not like it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people that were not okay with it. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I am not going to sit here. And, one of the things I love is that saying of like, if you do not like the role that you are being portrayed as, you should not have played the role in that story.
Yeah.
Because do not allow people to gaslight as to like, or reminisce. What is it? Revisionist history. It's like, I remember sending an email that just said, I will not engage in your revisionist history of my lived experience.
That's
Hard. Have a beautiful day.
God bless you.
No, and if it got you, and block sender. No, it's like, you know, I think at that point is like, revisionist history is a real thing. And for those of you that are like, what is that? Go Google it. It's really powerful. It's like revisionist history is gaslighting. It's when people are like, no, that did not happen to you. This is how it happened. You are happy. This was perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. You must be, you know, I was told you had a mental illness.
Wow.
That's why you were not easier to love. And I was like, you know, I didn't have a mental illness. I don't have a mental illness. Even if that did happen, I did have a clinical anxiety diagnoses from trauma and child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that like, but you know, so it's like, instead of trying to label the person, which people will do, you have to really govern yourself with like, you have to know, and trigger warning, if that was a trigger warning for anyone, I just want to caveat that, but it's like, you have to know your ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes, like what McKinney said, like therapy, weekly therapy, support, you know, like I had a whole psychotherapy team come in and evaluate everything, you know, and it's like, just really important to know that, like what happened to you is important to know. And then how you process that is up to you.
Yeah.
And that's really what I would say, you know, like that's where I've been the last 4 years, McKinney, is like processing and reintegrating and reprogramming and reconnecting and, you know, living and allowing myself to live in a period of disalignment. So my alignment could match my new state.
I love that. And that last line you said there, allowing yourself to live in a state of disalignment. So I'm going to try not to get too technical because people who are listening are probably not going to understand what the hell I'm talking about. But like, so when I was learning about overcoming fear from Bob Proctor, and we're talking about the transition from living in bondage to getting to where you want to thrive, there's a part where your mind, your brain, when it wants to get to this new level or this new life that you've never lived before or this new scenario or thing, you're in a state of misalignment. So it feels, I guess within the body, it'll feel like anxiety, right?
Yeah.
But you and I both know that anxiety also feels the same as excitement within the body, right?
Yeah.
It's about how we choose to express that or how we choose to perceive that. But when you allow yourself to catch up with both being in alignment at the same time, when you allow yourself to temporarily be in the misalignment and feel that uncomfortability and you push through it, that's where the rewards are. So when you said that last line, it made me even more proud of you. I am so, like, I'm like, don't get emotional, Bikini. It made me so freaking proud of you because I feel like allowing for some people is, especially allowing themselves to be in the uncomfortable place, is what a lot of people are not willing to do, which is what is blocking them from the blessings that they desire.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of you.
Amen.
So proud of you.
Thanks, McKinney. It feels good, you know, and I'm proud. I'm proud too, you know, and I think there's a lot of merit in that, is asking yourself, are you proud of the life you're living?
Mm-hmm.
Are you proud of the decisions you're making?
Mm-hmm.
And I will share this too. Are you proud of the decisions you're making behind closed doors where no one's looking?
Yes, that part.
There's a huge difference with how you show up, right? On social or whatever that is. And some of you may not have social. So this is even more important for those of you that are listening, that, you know, you go to school, you go to work, you drop your kids off, you're just happy in public, right? But, you know, you never crack the window down.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping yourself in this like rigid space, you know, I always want to ask you, like, how's that serving you? And I believe that true joy in life is I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm really trying to figure that all out of like, what does that keep feeling like? And how can I continue to create this ideal state where I'm in alignment with my work, my career, my business, my relationships? Well, that takes me auditing how I'm feeling when no one's around, what I'm thinking, and how I act behind the closed doors. And you're the only one that's going to know the thoughts when you lay your head on the pillow. You're the only one who can know that. So that's another piece of advice I have is talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself, and feed yourself those good things and know that you are worth that, because your identity is what is keeping you either hostage in your past life or it's your freedom into your future.
Amen.
Sure.
Amen. Listen, God cannot bless who we pretend to be. So if we are pretending on the outside for the world and inside we feel like crap or we're not the same person,
or we're bitter and contempt. Yeah.
Exactly. We're not going to see the results in our life that we desire. So we have to be in alignment with that. Um, just thank you again. Thank you. I always get excited when I have a guest that I'm in alignment with, because that keeps me on a high for the rest of the day. I'm like, I am good. I don't need any coffee. I don't need no sugar. I don't need nothing. Like, I can't.
You took a flight. This is amazing. Exactly.
Okay, so I guess I know that you mentioned, you used to be great at your morning routines, and now, you struggle with that. I know that when we are intentionally working on our lives, obviously there are things that we try to have in place, routines, rituals, habits to keep us on that higher vibration, to keep us on the right track. What presently are some of your daily habits or routines that are non-negotiables for maintaining your well-being right now?
So I wrote a journal after our podcast, and
Yay.
called Be Her Now.
Yeah.
And that is one non-negotiable for me, is my journal and rooting myself in my gratitude, in my dreams, and the one part in particular that even if it's a busy morning, is I always ask myself this thing: today will be, I will show up as. And it's commanding, I love that, right? As I am, is God, is Jesus, is faith, is source. It's like, the name that I am, well, you're commanding how you're choosing to show up that day. So that's like number one non-negotiable for me. Number two, I've also been like really gentle with myself, because I believe that when you're in transition, you do require more rest. And I remember being like the 5-hour a club sleeper for a long time. And that we moved out to wine country, and I can't get enough sleep. Like, I don't know, like I'm now retired. I'm like, I'm only 43. Like, why am I sleeping in? Like, I don't know. There's the air out here, McKinney. It's the energy's different.
Nature.
But I am like, oh, it's amazing. So I am honoring. I really do believe that I'm catching up on years of undersleeping. So that's important to me. Like 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night is now non-negotiable for me. In order for me to be where I want to be, career-wise, income-wise, success-wise, coaching-wise, presence-wise, not sleeping is no longer in alignment. So that's number one. So number one is a great sleep. I'm going to bookend making sure that I'm getting to bed on time so I can get up. And then I love doing my journal. I do my gratitude. I love getting work done. But that's it. Like, I'm trying to keep this less complicated, bikini. And I used to have the longest morning routine, and you give me a pencil and a pen and a journal and I will write all morning. Right. But it's important. I also read my future life script, my vision story, and I call her in every day.
Yes.
And that's really important to me. So those are, I think, if anything, my more of a non-negotiable is more of the journal and the mindset work. And that's a non-negotiable for me every single morning. And then the movement, it just gets me going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I don't know. I don't know if it's as we get older, we realize the importance of our sleep. I cannot function. I say this all the time in the podcast, but I cannot function with less than 7 hours and 20 minutes sleep.
Yeah.
My Fitbit is like, girl, no. My readiness score will be 0.
Yeah. And my Aura ring is angry and I need to have crowns.
Yeah.
A queen. I'm like, I am not a queen. I promote. I get this. I get them.
Wow. There was something else you said that I wanted to unpack, and my brain is like, oh darn it. Oh, it'll come to me later. Okay, so I guess for the listeners, that are at the beginning of embracing their own journey of worth, what would you recommend as their first step?
It's a really good question. So 2 things. Number 1, it is your birthright to know that you're worthy and you're born with worth and you came out absolutely perfect in your creator's version. And, as we grew up, we were told our name. We were told our, what denomination we were in church. We were told all the things. And we get stitched, this like beautiful patchwork stitching that just goes all on. It's all the conditioning, all the isms, all the society, all the things. And beneath all of that is your innate knowing, your intuition, your pull of like that feels right or that doesn't. And worthy comes from trusting the knowing that you're already great. Mm-hmm. And you're born perfect. As a coach, this, McKinney, right? Our job as a coach, and I'm an executive leadership and life coach and business coach. My job is to help you. I'm not here. You're the hero. Like, I'm here to help you figure out the solution that you already have inside of you.
Yes.
So if you're sitting there doubting that, that's been stitched on you. That's where you start. What are you unstitching? Are you going to start on your left arm? Are you going to start on your shin? Like, where are you starting? We're going to take some invisible little scissors and start, clipping the stitching, because that's when you're really truly going to feel. And that might be a decision you need to make. That might need to be a conversation you need to have. That might need to be an email sent. That may be where you start. That might be cracking open a plain blank notebook that starts with saying, I am worthy, and I will believe it to be so. And just giving yourself that incantation that I know if she can do it, I can do it. If Keeney can do it, I can do it. And, I love Jamie Lynn Kerna's book. She's amazing. Her book on worthy is incredible. Great place to start. But worthiness comes from inside. And if you are feeling a lack of purpose or a lack of drive or a feeling of insureness, you are your number one responsibility. That's your biggest focus then.
Thank you so much. That was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. Before we go to the final segment and the rapid fire, I would love if you could tell the listeners where they could stay connected with you, where they can learn more from you and about you.
Well, I just told McKinney that my website, I'd like to blow it up so no one can go there. Because we need a new one. You can follow me on Instagram. My name is Fitzpatrick. I am _M Fitzpatrick over on Instagram. We also have Fitz Life and Co., which is our another Instagram account. You can hang out with us there. We have a podcast called Fitz Life Unfiltered. You can find us on Spotify, Google, you name it, we're there. iTunes, all that good stuff. And let's hang out there. I'm on Facebook because I'm a geriatric, and I'm also on LinkedIn. So you can find me everywhere.
I'll definitely have all of your links in the detailed section for them to connect with you. And I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, like in a month or so, your website will be up. Perfect. Okay, so the final segment's kind of like a rapid fire. You can answer one word, you can answer one sentence, but I don't like to put anyone into a box. So if you feel the need to unpack, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, love it.
All right. What is your most repeated thought in a day?
You have time.
Love it. What is something that little Kim would be proud of you for?
Everything.
Love it. If you could live in a book, a movie, or TV show, what would it be?
Can't Be My Life.
Okay.
Can't Be My Life. Oh my gosh. I maybe on a beach somewhere, a happy romantic novel on a beach somewhere, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't answer for that one because I really love my life and I've been working hard to not be dissociated from my life.
Yeah.
So I live in my life and in my world, and that feels really powerful.
I
live in an opulent world. I live in an opulent world, opulent and fabulous, and I don't want to get out of it.
That is so powerful for so many reasons. And that would be like a whole other episode that we're going to have to do to unpack that one.
I don't want to go anywhere. I work really hard getting my bugs in my legs. Some people are going to be like, what's she talking about? And then half the people will be like, I know what she means. I know what it feels like. You're like loitering above your body. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. If you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Love more. Love. Lens of love. Respond with love. Always. That would be a law.
Yeah.
Love a law. I would love a law of love. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Last but not least, when and where are you the happiest?
When I'm with my family, my kiddos and Jamie. Yeah. And here in my house, in our new house, and we're all together. The other day we were in the hot tub together and we were just sitting there together. And I was like, this is the best part of my day right here.
That's what matters.
Family. That's it.
That is what matters. Wow. Thank you so much, Kim. My face hurts from smiling so much because I am so proud of you. I am so happy to see you. Your light it just shines through. It's lifting my vibration. I thank you not only for the work that you are doing on yourself, but for your family, for the future generations of your family, for every single soul that connects to you, that you get to empower. I thank you. Thank you for being you.
And I echo that right back to you. You know, you are rare air, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, McKinney. Thanks all.
Thank you, Kim, for sharing your story with us today. I truly, truly appreciate you. And to all of our healers out there, thank you for tuning in. Because of you, we rank globally in the top 1.5% of most popular podcasts out there. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, rate the show, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what aha moments you received from hearing Kim's story, what gems she left you with. If you can think of one person that would receive benefit from today's conversation, please share it with them. Someone out there needs this testimony. Screenshot this week's episode. You can tag us on Instagram. You can tag Kim at Kim_M_Fitzpatrick. You can tag myself at The Real McKinney Smith. And let's keep this conversation going. Again, if today's episode resonated with you, it's time to take control of your mindset. Renewing Your Mind is one of my books that gives you the tools to choose to turn your chaos into clarity. You can grab your copy today on Amazon or McKinneySmith.com. A healthy community is a healing community, and a healing community is full of hope. So let's continue to heal her.